Send in your own
Spin
one.
Cycle and Spin Cyclers are very happy because Remco, with flawless form, comma,
Yep, got some. Yep.
uh,
Absolutely booted that bottle
absolutely
over
booted a bottle.
into the neighbouring country.
Yep.
Took
The
out
things that
3
spin cyclers
N23
like.
guards on the border.
And it's time to move on.
Welcome back to the Spin Cycle Podcast, everybody. I'm Kaylee Fretz. Today on the show, we have new world champions, but there are much more fun things to talk about from the road races in Rwanda. Meanwhile, breaking news, Juan Ayuso is already causing a ruckus at Lidl-Trek. Let's get to it. Welcome to the show, Johnny Long.
Hello, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday, Kit Nicholson.
Hello.
Did you enjoy your weekend?
My weekend was kind of tiring, to be honest. It's a long one.
You work
Bloody-
weekends,
There's bloody
so
races.
yeah. Which they are done. Yeah, all done. We're good. We're good to go. Where do we want to kick off this particular show today? We've got, obviously, we had the men's and women's elite road races over the weekend. A surprise winner in the women's race and a least surprising possible winner
As
in
Johnny
the men's
put
race.
it in the newsletter, a renewed subscription.
For the rainbow jersey. Almost did exactly what we said he would do as well.
Yes,
think-
I think I tried to find, I think it must have been on a podcast, but I think I said 60 kilometres and it was 65.
I don't even think
Not
that
that
he
it's really
renewed.
that.
I think he just forgot to turn off auto renew.
Yeah. Yes, precisely. I mean, he did attack 100 kilometres to go, didn't
Yeah, just the same thing.
he? Did the same.
Montreal could be quite good, which is next
Hope so.
year's World's host. I think it'll be a little bit harder. We talked about this before those races, actually. That it's a little bit easier to the point where it's not just an exercise contest, which particularly the men's race certainly felt like. Do we want to kick off? Do we want to kick off with Poggi, or do we want to kick off with Magdalene Valieres? Which she's Quebecois, so I guess you need to say that with a French accent, but also a kind of weird French accent.
Valière.
Valliere, yeah. Super exciting finish there. I mean, how do you have two races on ostensibly the same course? Yes, okay, the women's one is slightly shorter. Finish so
Slightly.
differently. Well, a lot.
Yeah.
But it's like two different planets. It's like they were different places.
But they are two very different sports.
They are.
I mean, they aren't, but they are. I mean, we talk about it a lot. Just the way that even just a stage, a very similar looking stage, or a very similar looking race. Breakaways work completely differently in women's cycling.
Yeah.
All of the team dynamics work fairly differently. Partly because especially at the World Championships, the teams are smaller. They're inconsistent in size. I mean, race radius played a factor in the women's race, and that's played a factor before. We know that they don't necessarily do great without them. I don't know. Maybe that's maybe. I think that there were arguments made for.
Neither do the men generally.
No.
So-
But the men have less use of it when the winner's already gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
The men seem to be in a mindset of just sort of like, let's everybody ride as hard as we possibly can and see who's left. And that doesn't seem to be
Yeah.
the way that the women's peloton
Very
races
blokey
these
way
things.
to approach
No,
the problem.
What's quite pleasing though is that, I mean, Elisa Longoborghini's quotes were the best out of the weekend, in that she said, "We were all just stupid," and so it was the same sort of idea of what everyone else was saying, like Kasia, Niewiadoma, Demi Vollering. But then Demi Vollering said, "In hindsight, we probably did the wrong thing."
Well, you lost the bike race, so that's a pretty good indicator. Yeah.
But yeah, basically the favourites looked at each other, and they led a large group, including, obviously Magdalene Valliere, but also Mavi Garcia, Antonia Niedermeyer. They're bloody good riders. You don't let that go and then just look at each other.
No.
There has been illness at the bike races, and I think it was affecting some of the teams in the women's race, but really affected a lot of the teams early in the race in the men's. So I don't know. I think I would have loved to see the men race on the women's course, 160 kilometres just on the circuit. I think that would have been a much more interesting outcome potentially. I mean, it might have been just the same, But I think more people would have stuck around. Although that's not to say that I don't think that Moncagali was great and the Muri Kigali was fantastic, and to get out of the city and to see some more crowds and some bigger crowds, that was really cool. But yeah, the outcome was not surprising.
My favourite thing from the women's race was an article I read after the fact, but presumably was published beforehand, with Lawrence Tendam, former professional himself, who is the national coach of the women's team, and he's been asked by Wheeler Flitz basically, like, how are we gonna not fuck it up again? And, Lawrence Tendam, to his credit, had a multifaceted plan. Okay, first of all, he gathered everyone in person for where he then gave a motivational speech. Always key.
Yep.
He then brokered a deal amongst the riders that whatever happened, whoever won, everyone was going to share all the prize money equally. I'm not sure how much prize money there is, but I guess his point was that if you do a lot of work for a teammate and all you get is like a hug and a thank you,
Yeah.
that may not motivate you as much as like a few grand to then go and spend on a nice holiday. And then his third and crucial tactic, but this is where I think it may have gotten stuck, is that he continued, chatting to his riders over the phone and on text, as he says everyone does. But he then found some inspirational social media videos, like on his algorithm, some of which he admitted featured Kobe Bryant and his whole sort of attitude to competition, and sent them to his riders. And I can only imagine, if you're not that way inclined as to the National Basketball Association, that a Kobe Bryant motivational video of dunking and shooting threes is not going to motivate you to work for, let's say, Demi Vollering at a massive road race.
I admire the effort, though.
Yeah, A for effort.
A for effort.
Yeah.
Because that team has historically just shot themselves in the feet over and over and over again.
Multiple feet.
Yep. Unfortunately for them, did so again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But really, like, all the big teams did. All the big teams shot themselves in the feet.
Marlon Russo did a decent job of. I mean, what I liked about her effort was just to, there was a nothing to lose sort of attack, and it didn't last for long. And it was a good example of what altitude does to you as well. There's, there's only really space and capacity for, unless you're an alien, for one massive effort, and then you explode spectacularly, which I think is pretty much what happened. But it was good to see somebody trying to do something from that main group.
Should we maybe pivot over to the men's race a little bit?
We'll be talking more.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Yeah, I don't want to. We don't want to steal their thunder.
No,
obviously.
they'll do a much better job.
They'll do a significantly better job of discussing the race than we will. Let's pivot over to the men's race, which, as we mentioned earlier in the show, went pretty much exactly to plan. That doesn't mean that there weren't things to talk about, though. I think maybe the most exciting of which was just what on earth Remco Evenepoel was up to throughout most of the afternoon, which so he had a legitimate bike issue. Right. Mm-hmm. Let's sort of talk. So, for those who did not watch or don't know what I'm talking about, Remco had a bunch of bikes issues, bunch of bike changes, and still managed to finish second on the day after basically chasing, like it was almost like two-time trials, basically, with Pogacar and then Evenepoel behind. With all, he did a bunch of extra work, and the first issue happened on
the way to Moncagali.
Yeah, in a really crucial part of the race. So he has this issue. He says he hit a pothole or something, or a grate, and his saddle dropped. Right, that's a thing that happens. I've had that happen personally. That's annoying. That's unfortunate for him. You get a new bike and you continue on your way.
But he didn't get a new bike until.
Well, so he didn't get a new bike for a while.
Yeah.
And when you're riding with a low saddle and you're already 160K into this very hard bicycle race, I guess he was having cramping issues, right? Anyway, he's on this bike for a while, and then he finally gets a new one, and the new one isn't right. He says, "This is where we get into." Yeah, wasn't gold first and foremost.
Gold, crucially.
So he had to get off that one ASAP. No, so he's saying that he gets on the new one and the saddle's in the wrong place, and you could see him in the race, like standing up and whacking the front of the saddle. So like maybe he thought it was too far forward, or thought it was too high, or something. Now, Kit, his mechanic is also his cousin.
His mechanic is also his cousin.
What does he say?
Well, he said that they then, because he shortly after this, bike abuse, he got another bike change at a really badly timed moment. I mean, everyone knows that you should keep going until you have to stop, and this was exactly when Pogacar was going solo.
But also, there's no radios, right? So like,
no,
normally you'd call on the radio and you would you wait for your car to come to you. Right?
Yeah.
But you kind of have to just stop. How's the car going to know otherwise?
Well, he was telling everyone, the whole world, on the coverage. He was like, guys, hello, this, I need this now. No, but so his cousin said that they measured the bike, measured the setup, and the saddle was in the same position. It was all the measurements were exactly the same. And so, and his cousin even said, so I think Remco was just nervous. And it's like, whew. That's I mean, no wonder there was a lot of adrenaline going around. I mean, Remco himself then said later that he's used to the kind of the slope of his saddle being different, and so maybe it was the same height, but it was a different slope. So he usually has it tilting down slightly, and this the non-gold bike was nice and flat, and that wasn't quite what he wanted. And everything has to, at this point he was 200 kilometers into the race. This second bike change was in the almost exact same moment when Pogacar went solo from Del Toro 66k out. So obviously, what was it? A minute behind. Evenepoel was having these issues, and not that he knew that either, obviously, but it was just a kind of a flurry of action all at once. He then had to wait for quite a long time, and apparently the car was blocked. It was in the run in to the climb to the finish line. The I can't remember the name, but the steep cobble climb that they did in the time trial as well. The Côte, actually. The Muir was earlier. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he was running on adrenaline for sure.
I will acknowledge. I think having a saddle at the wrong angle is actually probably more annoying than a saddle that's slightly wrong in height, because it like changes your whole sort of hip angle, and you slide off the front of it or you slide off the back of it. It's probably really quite annoying, and I think he mentioned that he was having lower back issues as a result too, which totally checks out if the angle is wrong. I know it's his cousin, he's his mechanic, but also you should probably have the backup bike with the same saddle angle as the first bike. That seems like a pretty basic.
Yeah. Maybe it's his cousin just because he's the only one brave enough to do it. And also, if it's a mechanic who's not his cousin, there's no way they're being like, I did everything.
No.
Yeah. The princess.
But he did. I mean, he had it. Considering all of that chasing, and after that bike change, he idled across the finish line with Quinten Hermans. It looked like he was about to climb off. He had about a minute and a half to chase back into the group. I mean, you'll have noticed, anyone who watched will have noticed that there were a vast number of motorbikes and cars on the course, some of them really quite close to the riders at times. And you can see on occasion, Pogacar would just kind of slide across the road, just momentarily on the back of a... Sorry, I just moved away from the microphone, but, a bit of... which is, you see riders do it all the time, especially when they're knackered. They just kind of move into the path of the bike and then out of it again, and just
was every time the timing bike went by.
It's just exactly. I mean that's people, that happens. But apparently there were cars in between the groups, which if they were more than a minute apart is technically allowed. I think Evenepoel would have got back on anyway because he was angry. But at the end of the day, I think he got the best result he was going to get.
Final thing on the bike change. Yeah, it's kind of fun watching a rider like Evenepoel, but being so petulant, waiting for waving the Shimano neutral service past, and it's like, what the Shimano neutral service? They're like, what do I do? I'm just trying to help, and he's like, get out of the way. But then to be so petulant and kicking bottles, to then be hand delivered a golden bicycle is just it's just absolutely perfect. It's like, oh, okay, yes, of course the golden bike boy is the one getting really cross. But I loved it. To be fair to Remco, he had a whole week of it, not a week, at least a few days of bringing that energy.
Yeah.
Always on Sunday. Did you see his comments about Lorenzo Finn, the under-23 road race winner?
I saw some comments. I didn't. I'll admit I hadn't seen the comment that was quoted in Spin Cycle until I read it just now.
So Lorenzo Finn, 18-year-old Italian, won the under-23 race. So clear big talent. He's on the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe development team.
Yeah.
And so obviously Evenepoel was then asked about, what do you think of this guy he probably haven't even met yet? But Remco then just goes, I'm quoting, he gives the impression of being a bright, intelligent guy. He doesn't seem like the typical Italian to me.
Yeah.
And apparently he delivered this while smarting. So just like kind of, let's not kind of xenophobia. But also, which Italian hurt him so bad?
Yeah.
Who was it?
I suspect this question was framed as a kind of, hey, so he's going to be, because Lorenzo Finn has been signed to the grown-ups next year, but he's also been likened to Evenepoel, and so it was probably framed that way too. Evenepoel was like, hey, so you've got a new rival on your team. Did you know about this? Because Lorenzo Finn was the youngest rider in the under-23 category, having won juniors last year. So he's gone straight from the junior world champion. As a teenager, there's the youngest in the race wins the under-23. So naturally, everyone's now going, hey, it's the new Remco.
Well, but at the same time, Paul Cesas, what did he end up finishing?
Yeah, it was 13th, I think.
13th, who's 19 and was 18 last week.
Yeah, it was his birthday Wednesday.
I mean, we've briefly mentioned this before, I think, in the pod, but I like the U23 race at all. The existence of the U23 race makes less and less sense to me, basically, as we get further into 19-year-olds racing in the World Tour and, early 20s winning the Tour de France and things like that. Just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Mm-hmm. There were just to return to Remco real quick. I feel like he was kind of the whole thing with Quick-Step and Red Bull and all the rest had started to kind of make people view him slightly differently, maybe. I feel like the general tide had turned in favor of Remco as a personality.
I think he's very divisive. I think some people can't stand that he speaks his mind and is quite happy to forthrightly state his opinion without giving much leeway.
And his
I think he's
superiority
great character.
Yeah.
And he's a winner. So the thing is, like, you can knock him for, as sometimes everyone knocks riders for, sticking to their guns. But the Evenepoel usually turns up and wins these massive events.
Yeah.
So he puts his money where his mouth is.
I think he has done a lot of growing up in the past couple of years. That Giro when he was when he had to bow out for COVID and he was really cross. That was maybe a turning point. That kind of that sort of since then I feel like he's gradually been growing into a more. I don't know. But he's slightly more level-headed, let's say.
He's been accused of petulance by a lot of the folks who don't really like the way that he acts. And my point here was that I don't think that this weekend is going to help that particular viewpoint on him. Well, also, I'm not. I'm to be clear. I think roughly in the pro Remco field, but like the three of us, it's good for the pod, so it's good for me.
But also, if you were racing the biggest Remco's not had the best year, has he? Yes, he came flying into the time trial, but it's not been the year that he was planning. So he came into, this was probably he was really going for the double. This was really what he wanted to get out of this season. He'll probably go and win. He'll probably go and win the Euros this weekend now, using the kind of anger from this weekend. But If I was riding my biggest event of the year with a superbly strong team, even if Ilan van Wilder unfortunately broke his wrist in the first 50k, but he had a brilliant team. They were all in for Remco. Then you hit a pothole before the main climb of the day. You watch Pogačar go up the road at the top of that climb while you're trying to stave off the cramps in your calves. You know what the media is saying about you in that moment. You descend, you go up the Mur de Kigali, you're still on the wrong bike, you then get a bike change. It's wrong, or it's just slightly psychologically off. So you get another bike change, and then you're chasing for ages. I would be pissed as well.
Well, being Remco Evenepoel would make me cross all the time. Like, did you see the great innovation in the men's road race of filming them using the state-sponsored portaloos, which they had to use, presumably because, I don't know.
Well, to be fair, it's a circuit. It's a circuit with barriers all around it, fans all the way around it. I don't know. Yeah, I think we must
We've
have.
at least never seen it televised.
But no, we've not seen it televised because you're not allowed because you get fined if you pee in public. If you pee in public, which obviously you're always in public when you're on
World's
roads.
almost always has a string of porta potties, as we call them, up near the start finish somewhere. But I've never seen a TV crew stationed near them. For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What are we doing here?
Right.
Yeah. Just like kind of gross, but also one of those things where it's like I can't weirdly stop watching Toilet Cam.
If TNT just offered like in the summer you could get the 4 shots, right? If one was just Toilet Cam the whole time.
If I was a rider with no real hope, and like I'm gonna get a ban.
All it was missing was a village hall trestle table covered in half bananas and flapjacks.
Yeah.
It looked like a sportive event.
But if I was a star rider who like was kind of out the running already, I would go in, and obviously they'd be waiting for me to come out, and I would just I would just be waiting there. I'd like start flicking through my phone just to give the impression.
Wait 20 minutes and then get on the next lap.
For them to be like, what's happened? You know, like when they had the live stream of everyone jumping over the puddle. Do you remember that kit in England?
Can we talk about?
It'd be like that. Slow TV.
If we return to the bike race a little bit. All right, so we've talked about Evenepoel. We've talked about his bicycle issues. There were 2 other riders who tried. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they all tried. To be clear. There were 2 other riders who tried and briefly succeeded. We'll put it that way. Which was Juan Ayuso. We have an entire segment dedicated to Ayuso Alley today, so we won't spend too much time on Juan Ayuso. But Del Toro did as well. And Del Toro was also one of the riders who we mentioned in the last couple of weeks as being potentially somebody who could do something in this race.
Among the top 3 favorites for the bookies.
Yeah. I was pleased to see them go for it, having 3 UAE riders off the front for a period of time, even if one of them is, yes, technically sort of out the door, headed to Lidl-Trek in Juan Ayuso, right? But that was quite, I don't know, a nice just visual of the dominance of that team in this sport right now, because this course was really very exercise contesty, right? It was like, who's the strongest bicycle riders? And
it's an elimination race.
And the 3 strongest bicycle riders were all in the exact same team today, which I think does indicate maybe a broader issue within the sport. But I want to talk specifically about Del Toro. He's won a ton of one-days in the last couple of weeks, right? He's just like everything he enters, he's just been winning the last couple of weeks. And he certainly gave it a go on Sunday. My theory here is that it actually was the altitude that got him. Yeah. It looked to me like an altitude implosion. Now, granted, I'm not his coach. I can't see his Training Peaks file. I haven't talked to him afterward. But I have done that enough myself to know what that looks like, and to sort of have that like, well, because Pogacar was waiting for him for a while, right? Slowed down, waiting a couple different times, but just to have that, just nothing left. Like, you go into the red. That's what you say about going altitude, right? When you're at altitude, even 1,500 meters, which is not that high, you go into the red, you don't come out. And the Muir sent everyone into the red. Yeah. And the only rider that didn't go into the red probably was Pogacar. And no one else was able to come back. Which, from a tactical perspective, I actually wonder if that ended up helping Evenepoel in the long run. Yeah. If he'd stuck on Pogacar's wheel, he too would have gone into the red. And as I say, at altitude, it's really hard to recover from that.
Yep.
He might have been toast, right? Kind of forced to do his own thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that definitely played a role. I don't know. I mean, on Del Toro, it was the longest race I think that he's ever done. By quite some margin. The longest one day that he won in the past couple of weeks over in Italy was 198 kilometers. So it's a whole 67, 68 kilometers shorter, and not at altitude and not as hard. There was a lot that was new to him. He was apparently also having gastrointestinal issues, which is phrase we hear a lot, and sometimes we take it with a pinch of salt, but a lot of people were. And when you are in the red and you're grinding that hard, your whole body, I mean, I'm sure we've all had we've had a moment on a bike ride when we're hitting a wall, and the last thing we want to do is put any food in our stomach, but that's exactly what we need to do. And it starts to become a problem, and you can feel sick when you're trying to push hard watts and trying to follow Pogacar when you're in that state.
When you just can't get the calories in that you need at that point, right? I mean, these guys are taking in they're taking in 2 or 3 times more carbohydrates than they were 10 years ago, right? And they've trained their bodies to do that. But if you're having gastro issues, doesn't matter if you trained your body to, like, it's not natural to be able to take in 100 plus grams of carbs an hour. It's not natural. Like, if any of the 3 of us went and did it, we would poop ourselves everywhere to keep things PG-13. It's not good. Like, you feel horrible. So
it's a bit of a different shine on the Portaloos and
it does. No, but so that, I mean, that's I think a pretty good explanation. I guess the reason why
fact check myself. Just quickly. I just scrolled through Del Toro's Palmares. He's not Palmares. His calendar. He did do Milan-San Remo this spring, but
bit flatter.
Very much flatter, and it's famously quite an easy race until the last 30 kilometers, which is, you could not say for the world. So anyway, back to the studio.
So the reason I think Del Toro is interesting to talk about, and the word isn't, well, one, he animated one of, like, maybe the hardest worlds this century, right? Which, and let's not forget that he's still very, very young. He's quite a bit younger than Pogacar.
He's 21,
right? So that's, I think, just a good indicator for this being an individual who is really, like, he's going to be massive, right?
Yes.
And it feels like he's on the precipice of that right now, and maybe this Worlds is where I'm even more so than the Giro, right? Because he didn't win the Giro. Let's keep that in mind. The Giro was sort of like a bit of a coming out party, right? Like, he sort of showed himself to the world, and it feels to me like the last run over the last couple of weeks, he was winning a lot of races that not a lot of people are paying attention to, if we're completely honest. But then he's at Worlds, and he's on the world stage, literally, and he does that. And I am very intrigued. I'm just very intrigued to see what he can do, because I think every single time I see him race, he shows me some other little skill or ability that I wasn't really sure that he had, and Worlds is included in that list. And I think he's for me, he's like a Peter Sagan who can climb, which is a terrifying prospect, right?
Well, he's like Pogacar.
But he sprints better. So that's one of the really interesting things to me. We mentioned this. I can't remember what show it was on, or even who was on, whether you two were on with me. But I mentioned the fact that, like, one of the sort of more likely scenarios that I saw for this race was Pogacar versus Del Toro, and then Del Toro wins. Yeah. Right? Because Del Toro does sprint better than Pogacar basically all the time. I mean, let's not forget that Pogacar's lost to Jonas Vingegaard in sprints before. He's not actually a particularly amazing sprinter. Del Toro is an actual kick to him. And if we get to a point where Del Toro doesn't get dropped by Pogacar, that becomes very interesting. Team. But maybe they won't always be.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. How soon before Del Toro is bought out of his contract? Because because Del Toro has also got a disgustingly long contract at UAE. So Pogacar is there until through 2020.
Well, but we determined this summer that's not relevant.
Yeah. So either Del Toro, who has got a contract until 2029, is bought out, or Pogacar works as a domestique, which I think is the less likely scenario. So please, can somebody find some money to get Del Toro off UAE? Because otherwise we're never going to see anybody beat Pogacar at the Tour. Obviously,
maybe
never is an overstatement. But
no, I don't want. I don't.
Out to the Tour.
I don't want Del Toro.
No.
I don't want Del Toro to beat him at the Tour. I want Del Toro to beat him at Flanders.
Okay, I want him to beat him at both. Because I want to have races to actually watch. We need Flanders is a great race, and it would be great to see different. I mean, I think Flanders is superior to Paris-Roubaix, but let's not get into that discussion now. But,
let's spend at least 10 minutes on that.
I love Flanders, but the Tour de France is such a huge deal, and Pogacar has dominated it now for the past 2 years. He also dominated this World Champs race. He's had a less good season this year than he did last year, but he's still on top of the world, and he was very much on top of the Tour. And the Tour, as we've said until, I don't know, we were black and blue, that it is the biggest, the most kind of, it's the most important race in cycling. If Pogacar doesn't have any competition for the next few years, it's just going to be demoralising. It already is. We need somebody to come and to fight him, and I think Del Toro is probably the most likely to do that if he's allowed to.
Here's how excited I am about Del Toro. I have been chatting. I'm gonna keep this really vague on purpose, but I've been chatting with a guy about starting a Spanish language podcast with Escape Collective.
Is it Alberto
It's not Alberto, but that's how excited I am about Del Toro.
Can I, before we move on?
Yeah.
Can I show you the tweet that UAE Team Emirates
it
deleted?
was gold.
It was a tweet about the Worlds, and then they had to quickly delete it.
Oh.
Here, I'm just adding it in for the YouTube people. So this, UAE Team Emirates, they post a Rwanda flag and then the emoji of the smiley face with love hearts around it. And it's a photo of Del Toro and Pogacar off the front of the race.
On the Mur de Kigali.
Yes. And being like, great, look, our riders at the front, we're great. What they maybe didn't realise was that also in third place, a bit further down the road, is Juan Ayuso getting dropped by Del Toro and Pogacar.
The symbolism is beautiful.
And unfortunately, the comments or the replies below the tweet became an absolute terrible place from a PR perspective to be. So they had to delete this nice image.
It is a great photo.
It was great. It just goes to show that not everything is always perfect, even if it appears.
It is perfect.
I think that's a great little segue into our break here, because when we come back, we are headed into Ayuso Alleyway. Let's take a quick break. Welcome back, everybody. We are headed into Ayuso Alleyway. Is alleyway the right term here?
I guess it depends what sort of alleyway. It's not.
It
an
could be a dark.
Because alleyway sometimes you go into a dark one, then you never come out. Whereas Ayuso
true.
always finds a way out.
Should we just kick off this segment with a quote? I'm going to read a quote.
You should read it, and then people can guess who said it.
Okay. So I won't say who said it.
No,
I will. Okay, we'll just read the quote with no. Lidl-Trek told me that they believe in me. I don't know how it's connected that Ayuso has come in. They've been telling me for a couple years now that they want to build a team around me, but I don't think they've brought him in as a support rider. I don't know how it will work.
Oh no. If only someone had foreseen this.
If only someone had foreseen this. That was none other than Matthias Skelmose, who has been a pretty good bicycle racer for Lidl-Trek for the last couple of years. He has been there or thereabouts for quite some time. He actually, I believe he ended up Did he finish in front of Ayuso?
He
did.
He was fourth.
That's a fun little dynamic that we get to. I should have been watching for that in the race. I wasn't really watching Skelmose versus Ayuso in the race.
Fourth,
to be
fifth,
honest.
and sixth were all Lidl-Trek riders.
Yeah.
Ayuso finished 8th.
Oh yeah.
There you go. They've all got something to prove.
Wow.
Yeah, anyway, so we've already got this started, right? So Skelmose was speaking to TV2 and had these comments about Ayuso. I mentioned previously that I've always found Trek to be like a really well-run team. And more than just well-run, like humanely run.
Yeah.
It's like run by nice people. Like Luca Guercilena is a nice person. And I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest, and I don't mean this necessarily in like a mean or disparaging way. I'm just a little bit surprised that they didn't prep Skelmose on this question, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a very obvious question, or maybe they did.
The team didn't actually tell him. He found out in the news,
right? Which is a bad vibe. I think
maybe they're drawing straws, and then the person who drew the short one was on holiday or something.
Well,
no,
I mean,
I can't.
Sometimes it's literally like the logistics of just like internal communication, right? Like, my guess is that they were so focused on getting that contract across the line with Ayuso that they weren't really thinking about the comms side of it yet, even internally. And I think that has already a little bit come back to bite them because Skelma's. I mean, that's not the quote of a happy rider, right? And maybe they can figure this out. Like maybe Skelma's is given other opportunities because at the same time, we like Skelma's.
Yeah.
Nice guy, done some good stuff. Ayuso's probably better.
Yeah.
So
that is why I think Lidl-Trek probably didn't prep him to be like, look, you have finished 5th at the Vuelta in 2024.
And he
but
beat Pogacar and Evenepoel at what was it? Amstel Gold this year.
Johnny, can you turn yourself up a little bit?
Oh, sorry.
Just a tiny.
I don't know how much we should read. Well, I mean, obviously you can read as much as you like into anything, but Skelmoser was. I mean, some of the quotes this past week, everyone was talking to their own national news.
Yeah, that's how Worlds works, right?
Yes, yeah. So speaking to TV2, they were obviously like, "Hey, bro, it's you're the leader of Denmark. You're like Mr.
Was very accurate.
You're a big guy. You're the one we're pinning all our hopes on. Oh, but by the way, how do you feel about?" So he was being built up and built up and built up by his. So he was probably feeling kind of like, this is what they want. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I'm different with everyone I speak to, and I will you take in a certain vibe, or vibe maybe not the right word in this instance, but you take in a certain each interaction, each
do you mirror vibes?
Combination is well, not
you're a
not
vibe mirror.
Code switcher.
No, not necessarily mirroring, but I just if I'm comfortable with somebody, then I'm going to be different.
Okay.
Than if somebody's going, hey, you're the best, then you're going to be like, oh, okay, I've got to be the best then. You've got to dress yourself up slightly. Well, while of course I'm sure that these quotes come from a nugget of truth, and he is feeling a little bit miffed. But
you think he's been led down the garden path.
But I think maybe he's kind of pumping up their own what he's being handed. He's kind of adding some dust on what was already being expected of him. The witness was being led. Let's put it that way.
Yes, fair enough. The Lidl-Trek sports director Kim Anderson has been asked for his thoughts as well on how they're going to manage it, and he's like, well, it's natural development of the team. We want better riders. He did make a good point that if you're not Pogacar or Vingegaard, it makes sense to have more than one potential person. Like we've seen that tactic that Visma have needed it when they've won the Tour. But they have said that Skelmoser is going to go to the Giro with fullback in the team. But that within their Ayuso-Skelmoser dynamic, they're also going to have to balance, as we said on Friday, Milan and Pedersen. But it's doable. Look, it's doable. Okay.
It's less doable with Milan than it is with Pedersen.
Yeah.
I think Pedersen can fit in anywhere and still win stuff.
Yeah, and he could be like a Wout van Aert type. There's a reason you also mirror his everlasting contract, because he could also just pull some up and climb for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we're going to make a mountain out of this molehill for months, I presume, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it.
Well,
and be proven right
and
or
what
wrong, and it'll be good.
Yeah, what is very true is that Lidl-Trek creates very good riders, and they're still. I think one of the things that is in their favour is that they do foster a team environment, more so than a lot of teams where, in some teams, especially world teams, there'll be one of the 30 riders on the roster who you barely see all year except at team training camp in January, and then everyone goes their separate ways, more or less. But I feel like at Trek they try and keep more of a kind of cohesive unit thing going on, or a kind of a bit of an ethos. But but they're also just brilliant riders, and Lidl-Trek certainly won the World Championships as far as team representation went, especially if you factor Ayuso into that. They were not by far, but by at least 2 riders better than anybody else. UAE had 5 if you count Ayuso.
You mean finishers in the 30?
Finishes of the 30, which is a ridiculously small number. Yeah, so they're a good team. So shout out Toms, middleweight world champion,
5th.
Yeah, epic. Probably the heaviest possibly the heaviest of all finishers. That's not to say that he's a classic specialist. He's not even heavy.
Did
he's
you see that
tiny.
photo of him that he posted on Instagram with the rest of the Latvian crew. He's so small. He looks even smaller there than in person. He seems like kind of normal size.
Tom's marked himself as possibly the first over 70 kilos.
The quote was, I think I'm the world champ in the 70 kilos plus category, so I'll take that. Which, I mean, if you go in boxing classes,
Yeah.
He would get a.
I
he would get
will
a belt.
say, I've ridden with Toms. I know
Yeah.
Toms well, obviously. My guess is he's like 70.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's like about the same height as I am. I think we actually ride the same size bike, and I'm sort of 67, 68
It's 1.81
kilos,
meters. Is that how tall you are?
roughly. I'm like a 1.8. Yeah.
The well, it's
we
much
don't
better to
we
be
don't do
70.
meters over here, Johnny.
No, I didn't, but that's what Pro Cycling Stats had, so I had to just say it. You'd rather be 70 kilos than like 68 or 69 because then that's the way, that's why they price everything at 0.99 is because then
That's
you think
true.
it's,
That's very true.
No,
Yeah.
it was an epic.
But it
ride
wasn't
from Tom's.
epic ride.
So
And I-
good.
I think when my brain gets broken a little bit by that because I've known Tom's for so long, and we obviously we know Tom's via Abby in a lot of ways, but also like I've just personally known Tom's for so long. I've seen in person off-season Tom's and things like that, and so it actually breaks my brain that he's that good at bicycle
been
racing.
able to do that, yeah.
Yeah, like I see him. I remember going on a mountain bike ride with him. Must be 10 years ago now. And like he didn't just leave me for dead. He could have, obviously, at any point in time. But he was a nice enough man to just ride with me for like 4 hours. And I can't really square like that just sort of chill, humble guy with the dude who just finished 5th at the World Championships, the hardest worlds in
He's finished in the top
30
8
years.
in the past 3 years. 8th, 4th,
Yeah.
5th, and 4th at the Olympics. When he puts on that, I mean, he's fantastic in Lidl-Trek kit as well. But when he puts on
Yeah.
that Latvian kit, it's actually a really nice story too, because he clearly kind of gets. I mean, maybe not clearly, and maybe he wouldn't actually like this assessment, but I feel that he would. He loves wearing that Latvian kit.
Yeah.
He loves representing his country, and he really, really goes full beans. And not that he
Yep.
doesn't every other time, but he's like, I'm doing this
I think he does find a
for
particular
Latvia. And
motivation,
he gets real, and it's awesome. And he had one rider in support.
Yeah.
Two of his teammates were among the early abandons, including Chris Nealance, former Latvian champion who's done some good things in the World Tour. But he was.
I don't think he'd take that the wrong way. I don't think the
I
yellow
think
jersey
he
gives
would,
you
no.
watts, right? Like
Yeah.
it's the same rough concept, and I wouldn't say it's unique to him either, right? I think
not
that
at
there are
all.
lots of riders who are like that, but he
it's really
definitely
cool
seems
to see
to
when
be
he rides
one.
as a support rider for so often. He seems happy
Yeah.
in that role for Pedersen and co. He's
But-
he's so often he's like a workhorse.
I think the relevant part of that is not that it gives you. It's not that it gives you more watts, right? Like your threshold is the same. Your
Yeah.
your abilities are the same. It's that I think that if you just watch bike racing on television, you don't realize how much it hurts all the time.
Yeah,
It
it's a
hurts
mental
the
game.
whole time, right? It's like you are just in pain for hours on end. And so to have the sort of what it actually probably does is it sort of adds to the mental fortitude on that particular day. And it makes you willing to dig deeper into the reserves that you maybe wouldn't otherwise. I mean, we've seen even similar things. Like it's just such a mental sport. It's such a mental sport. I don't necessarily know that. Yeah, if you've never raced or you haven't been inside it, it's really hard to wrap your head around that. I think, and I think that's maybe where some of that comes from. Is like just well, you just need to understand that that's the case. That a lot of these riders, they're so close in ability, right? It's a couple percent here or there. That a lot of it does come down to who can just suffer harder. And I feel like the sport has actually kind of gotten away from that kind of language in recent years.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, I guess. But it still is. It's there's a reason why. Like when Rafa launched, for example, they really leaned into that sort of language and that sort of imagery and all the rest. And if you read like old cycling stuff, it's always talking about suffering. And it's always talking about, the sort of mental fortitude of the racers. And we don't tend to actually talk about that all that much anymore for whatever reason. It's like it's become more mechanical and more robotic, but it really hasn't. They're still human beings and it still hurts like hell. And I think to sort of bring this back around, I really think that Tom's at Worlds is a perfect example of that, where he essentially overperforms because he's just willing to go so crazy deep particularly in a day like Sunday.
Yeah. Someone
Anyway,
else who
kudos.
always looks like he's digging actually with his head is Ben Healy,
Yeah,
who we
we gotta
haven't
mention
mentioned
Ben
yet.
Healy.
Yeah.
Ben Healy, yeah.
Ben Healy, who has, I think, was it even Cosmo? Somebody, one of the memeologists, whatever,
Yep.
made a fantastic meme. I should try and find it, of the Ben Healy effort head tilt, and you can tell how hard, how deep he's digging by how far his head is leaning
the
over.
head goes over.
He was pretty amazing yesterday. He was tipped to do well after his tour, and he's obviously good in the Ardennes Classics. But boy, it was impressive, and just right and I loved. I mean, I felt for Skjelmoser, but when Healy just rode him off the wheel in the last 5-10K, it was just. It was, and as Skjelmoser then actually said afterwards, tactics didn't come into it at all. It was all about the legs, and Healy had the legs, and it was really good to see. It was really cool to see.
That's another rider who just sort of never seems to give up, but that actually wasn't what it was in this case. I mean, it kind of was, right? Like he had the legs, but he was just really, really strong on the day too. Just incredibly strong.
I think everyone who finished the race had to be on one of their best days of the year.
Yeah, massive.
Do you think Ben Healy's ever tried to address the head tilt, or do you think it doesn't really matter?
It looks uncomfortable. It looks like he's going to have some chiropractor appointments in his future.
We should ask his coach. I think it's still Jacob. We should ask. Should we take a quick break? We've got a couple of little things to close out the show.
Yeah, let's take a quick break. When we come back, what's happening when we come back?
A couple of little nibbles.
Shout out to Beef Daddy.
Shout out Beef Daddy, yeah.
If that's not a tease, I don't know what is. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Can we start this segment with a little feel good story?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that.
So the first and actually only African finisher, Kit.
Hello.
You need to say the guy's name because I batted it, and we're trying to do it proper.
Everyone who's been watching cycling for the past couple of years has seen this guy on the front. So you've probably seen or heard his name mangled before. Emmanuel Gebreigzabir, Eritrean rider, good ruler, climber. He's a fantastic rider at Lidl-Trek, and he finished 30th, just ahead of the broom wagon. But it was only 9 minutes down. So the circuit was 23 minutes roughly. It was over 20 minutes long. So it's not like everyone else had been lapped. Everyone else had just pulled over.
Basically, if you were longer than 10 minutes behind, you got yanked.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it could have been longer behind. So I don't know if maybe everyone else did just give up of their own accord, more or less. Well, I mean, there would have been some people, but yeah. So anyway, that's awesome. It was great, and the Eritrean kit is so striking. It's such good. So good to see.
Yeah, just a nice little feel-good story. I mean, we spent a lot of last episode talking about some of the things to be concerned about with this Rwandan Worlds, and I think that today it's worth taking a moment to just talk about some of the things that are actually great, right? Because the two things can exist at the same time. As we've said so many times in the last couple of weeks, you have to hold two truths in your head at the same time, which is that it was genuinely really cool to see a Worlds in Africa, right? Awesome.
The crowds were
unbelievable. I'm really so Zach and Harry, who do the Race Chasers photographer podcast with us. I've just pinged them like, guys, we need an episode because they were both there.
Harry wasn't there.
I think just
Zach was.
Zach
Zach was.
was
Sorry.
though. Yeah. Zach was on the Moto.
And they're like, maybe you can find another photographer to chat with. Maybe you can just chat about it with Harry. Anyway, at least Zach was. I want an episode talking about what those guys experienced from that Worlds, because it was we're just watching on television, obviously, like everybody else, but it looked incredible, right? That part is great. You cannot sort of pull that down. That said, maybe, Johnny, that's a nice segue into your favorite sign from the day. Potentially suspect signage.
Yeah, this is great. Let me get this up. I didn't realize we were going to this in this bit of the show. But yeah,
do you want to do? You want to do an after dark?
Nah, let's talk about it now.
All right.
Let me just get my screen up for those on YouTube. I was audio described as well. Basically, there was a guy who was in the crowd at the side of the road who held up a white sign that read, "Rwanda and Rwandans are very happy because of the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, and the president of the UCI, David Lepardien." Definitely definitely doing that of his own volition. Definitely not asked to write that out, given the proper, as you pointed out, Kaylee, beforehand, proper grammar on a sign. Never before have I seen a comma on a sign.
Yeah, so specifically the comma surrounding Paul Kagame's name. So, you got a comma before, you got a comma after. That is the proper way to write that out. Yeah. One, quite long as signs go. Not necessarily reading that one as you're flying by, right? And two, the proper proper grammar throughout. I find in a country where the last election saw a 99% of the vote swing the same direction, I think it is reasonable to suspect that may not have been entirely.
He also got a massive cheer when he came out on the podium.
Yeah,
Kagame.
Paul Kagame, yeah. Yes.
I have. To be fair, maybe they do love him.
I think that's reasonable.
I've been at bike races where people watching on, I wouldn't necessarily call them cycling fans, I have no idea of their motivations for being there, have cheered very enthusiastically for something they didn't seem that interested in. So I'm just saying these things have happened. I
just appreciated that sign, and I think the reason I most appreciate it is exactly what you did in Spin Cycle today, Johnny, which is it's a very memeable sign. We can make our own signs now.
This guy or Paul Kagame, if it wasn't behind the sign, has not understood that these days in the internet, if it's a white sign, it can be photoshopped to read anything.
Or a presidential letter,
Yeah, anything.
Can you pull it up again? Pull it up again for us.
Sorry, yes.
There we go.
So okay, you heard the definitely not Paul Kagame's version.
Yep.
My version is Spin Cycle and Spin Cyclers are very happy because of cyclists drinking beers of various sizes on podiums. That's a political slogan I think we can all get behind.
Spin Cycle and Spin Cyclers are very happy because of Juan Ayuso continuing to do Juan Ayuso things.
Yes.
And Matthias Skelmoza being angry about it. We could put infinite things on this particular sign.
Angry Remco, fully in support.
Spin Cycle and Spin Cyclers are very happy because Remco, with flawless form, comma.
Yep.
Absolutely booted that bottle.
Absolutely booted a bottle
into the neighbouring country.
Yep.
Took
the
out
things that
3
Spin Cyclers
N23 guards on the border.
And it's time to move on.
You know who I would give a shout out to on a whiteboard if I was holding up by the side of a bicycle race?
Who's that then?
Beef Daddy.
Ooh.
Beef Daddy.
Explain yourself.
Beef Daddy is I think his full Discord government name. I keep on losing it because Discord sucks. It's impossible to search anything. I think it's Beef Daddy P. Yes, it's Beef Daddy P. Beef Daddy P on the back of the Chloe Dygert story. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Beef Daddy P is a fantastic person on the Discord because of both content that he provides and also his name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or username. I'm sure his is not first name Beef, second name Daddy, but it might be. Beef Daddy made it very clear in the aftermath of the whole Chloe Dygert episode stuff last week that he himself was the proud owner of a label maker.
Oh.
And so, in what must be a boon to the label maker industry after a very tough week, Beef Daddy has been reclaiming label makers, and he's been making his own for his bike. So on his fork, he did one which I didn't understand, which was about eagles. But this one says, "I stand for the truth. I stand with releasing the files."
Ooh.
Beef Daddy shoots from the hip, which is fun, and that's where I'll stop sharing the screen. And yeah, good on you, Beef Daddy. Shout out. If you remember, you can hang out in Discord with Beef Daddy.
I have to. I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that our Discord is the funniest place to be during a bicycle race of anywhere on the internet. Like, would there be a funnier place?
I think it's the only place that we get. I don't know. No, I was going to say it's the only place that you get heckled before you've written anything.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when Twitter was good. So when Twitter was good, you had lots of like really funny, clever people just sort of like tweeting stuff about bike, and like the live feed during a bike race was great. Like I would just sit there watch a bike race. I would just scroll Twitter and like just giggle at myself. Right,
See
it was
what
great.
people are saying,
yeah, and they also and genuinely they would like pick up on stuff that you missed, and like it was a great place to be. I'm talking like 2013 Twitter, right? Long time ago now, unfortunately. Our Discord is that now.
It's the new
like the,
unless
the
you
live...
get to it late, and then it's just overwhelming. It's like standing in front of a tidal wave.
Well, but like the live chat during Worlds was so good. They're noticing all kinds of great stuff. They're making jokes. We've got Beef Daddy making his own labels. Yeah. It's just a great place to be. It wasn't intended to be a plug there, but genuinely, like if you were looking for that, if you like me were on Twitter in 2014. And you're looking for that experience again, because right now it's just not there anymore, right?
And
you got to get in our Discord.
And whatever you're expecting from the Spin Cycle channel, there is never any consistency. The subjects that they get into is hilarious.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
speaking of things on Discord, I was tagged in this one yesterday, and we need to confirm if this is the case or not. So, Jim on Discord tags me and says, "Did Greg Olson give Escape Collective a shout out on the NFL Network?" The subject of what Irish rugby players think of the NFL. He said, "Let's save that for after dark on the podcast."
What?
I can't think of anything else that would be. So, Greg, if you're a listener, reach out. We'd love to chat with you. We'll comp your membership. You can you can drop into the Discord yourself. What else could that be? Someone else have After Dark on the podcast?
Maybe.
Does he have his own podcast?
Yeah, he has his own podcast now, I think.
But do they have an After Dark?
But I think it's I weirdly heard him on a podcast the other day and promoting his own podcast. I think his is about like being a dad or something. So I doubt they have After Dark for a podcast about being a dad.
Is it possible that Greg Olson is a Spin Cycle listener?
Be quite cool.
Maybe.
Even if I heard of him 5 minutes ago.
He's in his 40s and is from America, so
it's possible.
It's very possible.
It's entirely possible.
I've got a couple more little. Go on.
No, I was going to say welcome if you are.
It's good to have you here, Greg. Let's move on to something that I think Greg would be really stoked on, which is the new world record wheelie holder.
Yeah.
World wheelie record holder. There we go. I got the English correct there.
I think I wrote it the wrong way around. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Not only did you not win the Ryder Cup over the weekend, Americans, you also lost the wheelie world record. It had been held by Richard Flanagan, who had wheelied for 81.594 kilometers.
That is such
but
a long
unfortunately, a young man called Oscar Delate, he's French, set a new total distance of 150.4 kilometers in like an indoor track. And the best part is this track was in Vittel in France. So soapy water and wheelie world record.
150k on a wheelie.
Insane.
That's hurting just thinking about it.
That's
even
nearly
80 kilometers is horrible.
Nearly an imperial century.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Why the extra 400 meters after 150 kilometers? That's what
I'm
He was
assuming
probably just completing a lap.
Do you reckon he was doing
yeah.
a celebration or wheelie for his 150 kilometers of serious
150. Wheelie. That must have taken so long. Like,
I don't know.
You can wheelie. You could probably. I bet we were really good. You could wheelie along at like 15 miles an hour or something. But even so, that would be.
Jesus Christ, that's fast.
Yeah, but
That's fast.
This dude has the wheelie record. I'm assuming he's pretty good at wheelieing, right? It's probably
I think
he's probably pretty comfortable up there.
I mean, he might be certifiably the best at wheeling, in fact.
Or certifiably insane. Yeah.
One of the two.
it's also the reason it's respectable is because there is literally zero financial gain to be made from this record.
But that's what's great about world records. I mean, Johnny, you grew up in the UK. I don't know if it was as big a thing
Guinness World Record book,
yeah, but every Christmas somebody in my family got the Guinness Book of World Records, and that's all we spent Christmas Day
True.
doing,
You know
looking
what,
through these random things.
But this would have taken him like 10 hours. Like most of them are like, oh, who's got the biggest collection of insert weird object here, or has the longest beard? Where it's just like you go about your life, you just don't cut your beard. Whereas this crazy man.
I think it's incredible.
In other news, the 1.2 ranked Mirabel Classic, Volker Wessels, the women's team finished in the top 6 places.
Wow, that must have been the whole team.
Probably. So that's
a
fun
1.2
for
rank race,
exactly 6 Volker Wessels riders and no one else.
Very good.
But yeah, there you go.
Speaking of world records, it wasn't.
Oh.
It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't a technical. I mean, it is a record. But just to I don't know, tie things up with the bow for Remco Evenepoel. He might have been very, very disappointed yesterday, but he is now the elite man with the most world's medals on the road ever.
Ever.
Yep,
Wow.
exceeding Valverde, Tony Martin, who got 7 in the time trial, and Cancellara, ditto on the time trial. But yeah, so I mean, the most world medals ever among the elite men is Remco Evenepoel with 8.
Wow.
The most anyone has ever got though in the road discipline, road and time trial discipline, Jeannie Longo.
Yeah.
How many would you like? I think you should guess. How many do you think Jeannie won
17.
over the course of her career?
Yeah, I was gonna say like high teens somewhere.
Okay, so it's 14.
14. That's still
including
a lot.
8, including 8 golds. Wait, 9 golds. 5 on the road, 4 in time trial. So that's bloody brilliant. It's
good.
crazy. But yeah, so it's not all bad for Remco, and he could threaten Jeannie Longo's world medals record at some point.
Yeah. It must. I mean, all the names you just listed there, time trial would be where you'd get most of them, right? It's just more consistent.
Yeah. Just turn up.
And Valverde was one of those guys who would get lots of silvers and bronzes because he was a.
Well, he was just good on almost any course you put in front of him.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The exception being like a Cavendish course, but yeah, pretty much everything else Valverde was going to be there. Well, nice job,
Should we
Remco.
After dark?
We should go out to After Dark. We should.
With Greg.
With
Come on,
Greg.
Greg.
Come on over, Greg. Join us. Should we talk about Irish rugby players and what they think of the NFL in After Dark? I don't know anything about that.
It's because they were playing in Dublin over the weekend.
Oh,
yesterday.
okay.
That's why.
That makes more sense. Yeah, I don't really follow any of that. Let's head to After Dark, which of course is the extended version of this podcast. Go sign up. escapecollective.com/join. You got to do it. Get access to the Discord where all the funny things are happening. You will not regret it. It's great. And get access to everything that we do here at Escape Collective. escapecollective.com/join. Let's go to After Dark.